I was just a normal kid from a small town in the Midwest. My name is Jonathan, but my friends call me Johnny. After college, I decided to move to a big city. I liked the idea of living in a whirlwind of events, where every day brings something new and unexpected. But what happened to me was beyond imagination. The city of Chicago became my new home. I found a small but cozy apartment in an old building in the north of the city. The neighbors seemed like nice people, although I didn't get to know many of them. Work in an advertising agency took up almost all of my time. One evening, returning home late at night, I noticed that the door to my apartment was open. I definitely remembered closing them before leaving. After carefully entering, I saw that things were scattered on the floor. The feeling of danger rolled over in a wave. Someone was here. After searching the entire apartment, I did not find anyone. Nothing was stolen, but the feeling of anxiety did not leave me. I decided that it could be a misunderstanding or a neighbor's joke. But the next day I received a strange letter. The letter was anonymous, without a return address. It had only one sentence. "I know what you do every night." It was strange and frightening. I tried to calm down, but the feeling that I was being watched did not leave me. I contacted the police, but they took it as a joke or an accident. However, I decided to be more careful. I started to change my routes home. I didn't stay alone late at night. I talked more with my neighbors. One of the neighbors, Mrs. Martin, told me about a strange man who often appeared in our house. She described him as tall, thin, with a piercing gaze. This description reminded me of someone I saw once in our neighborhood. One day when I was coming home from work, I saw that man. He was standing at the entrance to my house and was looking straight at me. I tried to get closer, but he quickly disappeared around the corner. My anxiety grew even more. I decided to install surveillance cameras in my apartment. This should have given me peace and an opportunity to understand who is watching me. A few days later, while reviewing the recording, I noticed something terrible. The video showed the same man entering my apartment when I was not home. He looked around as if searching for something. But the worst part was that he walked up to my camera, looked straight into the lens and whispered, "This is just the beginning, Johnny." My heart froze with fear. After watching this video, I felt completely helpless. My own home was no longer a place of safety. I contacted the police again, but they couldn't do much as the man had committed no crime. They advised me to be careful and keep the door closed at all times. I started telling friends and colleagues about my situation. One of them, Michael, offered me to stay with him for a while. I accepted the offer, hoping it would help me gather my thoughts and come up with a solution. It was safer with Michael, but I still felt uneasy. We decided to check the surveillance cameras at my house again, and this time we noticed that the man had left something on the kitchen table, a small black box. We went to my apartment and carefully opened the box. There was a flash drive inside. We inserted it into the computer and found a video there. The video showed me when I was at home from different angles. The man had clearly been watching me for a long time. It was awful. He knew everything about me. When I leave the house, when I come back, what I do. My personal life was on display. I decided to find this man and find out why he does this. Together with Michael, we began to look for him in the area where we had seen him before. We asked people, showed him a description, but no one knew him or wanted to talk. It was a silence that only added to the fear. One evening, when we were returning home after another unsuccessful search, I noticed that we were being followed. I stopped and turned around. It was him. He stood in the shadows watching us. We rushed to him, but he quickly disappeared. I realized that just running away would not help. We decided to set a trap. I left a note on my desk saying I would be home alone at a certain time. Michael and I hid in a nearby apartment and waited. A few hours later, we heard my apartment door open. We saw him enter and start looking around the room. This was the moment we were waiting for. We ran out of the neighboring apartment, catching him by surprise. He tried to run away, but we caught him. Michael was strong enough to hold him while I called the police. When the officers arrived, we handed the man over to them. He didn't say anything, just smiled as if he knew something we didn't. The police questioned him, but he refused to speak. They found a few more flash drives and records about me and other people. It was a veritable web of surveillance on unsuspecting victims. For the next few weeks, I lived in constant fear. Were there other people who worked with him? Was it the end or just the beginning? My paranoia grew every day. The police determined that this man acted alone, but I found it hard to believe. I started seeing a therapist to help me deal with my fears and anxieties. One day, as I was walking home, I noticed a strange car following me. The driver didn't do anything aggressive, but his presence scared me. I made a few sharp turns trying to confuse him, but he continued to follow me. I returned home and locked myself inside. Decided to call Michael to tell him about this situation. He advised me not to leave the house and to call the police. However, when I got to the window, the car was gone. The next morning, I decided to install additional security measures in my apartment. Cameras, additional locks, alarms, anything that could give me peace of mind. I also changed my daily routes and schedules. A few days later, when I was going through the surveillance footage again, I saw the same car reappear near my house. He stood there for several hours and then left. This happened several times, and each time I felt more and more anxious. I contacted a private investigator named Allison to help me investigate this situation. She had a lot of experience in such cases and promised to do everything possible to find the one who was watching me. Allison began her investigation by interviewing neighbors and analyzing surveillance footage. She found several clues that indicated that the car belonged to a rental company, but the renter was using fake documents. We decided to set another trap. I pretended I was going out of town for a few days while I stayed at Allison's apartment. Meanwhile, she was watching my apartment. After some time, we saw that the car reappeared near my house. A man got out of it and came to my door. Allison immediately called the police and they arrived quickly. The man was detained, but it turned out that he was only a courier delivering a package. Police checked the package and found nothing suspicious. This was another dead end in our investigation. I started to feel myself becoming paranoid. Every sound, every movement outside the window caused me to panic. But I couldn't stop. I had to find an answer. One day, Allison came in with new information. She found a connection between this car and another stalking case. Another victim, a man named Stephen, also received strange letters and felt that he was being watched. We caught up with Stephen, and he told his story. It turned out that he also saw this man and received similar threats. We decided to join forces to find out what was going on. Allison began digging deeper into the stalking cases. She found several other people who had suffered similar attacks. All of them received threatening letters and noticed that they were being followed. We created a support group where we could share information and help each other. It gave us a sense of unity and strength, but we understood that this was only the beginning of a long road to the truth. One evening, we decided to have a meeting at my apartment. We were discussing our plans when suddenly we heard a knock on the door. It was the postman who brought a new anonymous letter. There was only one word in the letter: coming. It was awful. We understood that the time to act was limited. We had to find the culprit before he hurt one of us. Allison decided to use her connections in the police to access the databases and find more information about these people. She discovered that all the victims worked in different fields, but they all had a common acquaintance, a man named Richard. Richard was the owner of a small security company. He hired security guards and installed security systems. It seemed strange to us, but so far we had no evidence against him. We decided to find out more about Richard. Allison found several people who worked for him, and they said he was very cautious and withdrawn. No one knew what he did outside of work. We decided that Stephen would try to get a job at his company to get more information. It was risky, but we saw no other way out. Stephen successfully passed the interview and started working for Richard. He tried to gain his trust and learn more about his affairs. We were waiting for any information that could help us. A few weeks later, Stephen said that Richard often left at night for meetings. He tried to find out more, but Richard was very cautious. We understood that a more radical step was needed. We decided to install GPS on Richard's car to track his movements. It was illegal, but we had no other choice. Allison found a way to do it without being noticed. A few days later, we received the first results. Richard drove to abandoned buildings on the outskirts of town. It was suspicious, and we decided to check these places out. One night, we went to one of the abandoned buildings. Inside, we found a room full of computers and surveillance equipment. This was clear evidence that Richard was running an entire surveillance network. We gathered all the evidence and decided to contact the police. But suddenly they heard that someone was approaching. It was Richard. We hid and watched him. He was checking his equipment and making some notes. We decided not to risk it and leave this place. Returning to the apartment, we collected all the evidence and handed it over to the police. They promised to start an investigation. The police detained Richard and began an investigation. They found more evidence of his criminal activities. But most importantly, they discovered that he had accomplices in different cities. The investigation lasted several months. We followed the news and hoped that everything would end well. The police discovered a whole network of criminals engaged in harassment and blackmail. Richard was sentenced to life imprisonment. His accomplices were also arrested. It was a great relief for all of us. We felt that we could finally live in peace. But even after Richard's arrest, I still felt fear. My paranoia didn't go away. I continued to see a therapist and work on my emotional state. My friends supported me, and it helped me cope with the consequences of this terrible period. I started to get back to normal, but always remained cautious. I found a new hobby, photography. It helped me distract myself and find beauty in ordinary things. I began to participate in photo contests and even won several prizes. One day I received a letter from one of Richard's former employees. He apologized for his involvement in this case and explained that he was forced to act under pressure. It was hard to accept, but I tried to find the strength to forgive. My life gradually improved. I found new friends with whom I could share my experiences. We often got together to support each other. I started writing a book about my experiences. It was a way to deal with the trauma and help others who might be in a similar situation. My therapist loved the idea and was supportive of it. My book became popular. She helped many people to understand that they are not alone in their fears and experiences. It was a great achievement for me. I continued to work on my emotional state and gradually returned to a normal life. My therapy helped me find inner peace. One day I met a woman named Sarah. She also had a traumatic experience and was looking for support. We quickly found a common language and became friends. Our relationship gradually developed, and we became a couple. Sarah helped me to believe in people again and to find a new meaning in life. We supported each other in everything. I moved to a new city with Sarah. We started a new life, free from fear and persecution. It was the best decision I could have made. We found a new apartment and started to furnish it together. It was a process that helped us strengthen our relationship and create a comfortable home. I continued to do photography and writing. It was my way of expressing myself and sharing my story with others. My book became a bestseller and I received many letters from readers. Sarah was my biggest support. She was always there when I needed help or just wanted to talk. We planned our future together and dreamed of adventures together. One day we decided to go on a trip around the country. It was our dream to see new places and feel freedom. We packed our things and set off. The trip was incredible. We visited different cities, met many interesting people, and saw incredible landscapes. It was like a new birth for me. After returning home, we felt that we had become even closer to each other. We decided that it was time to take another step in our relationship, to get married. Our wedding was modest, but very touching. We invited only our closest friends and relatives. It was a day we will remember forever. After the wedding, we decided to settle in a small town by the ocean. It was a quiet and peaceful place where we could enjoy life and forget all the past difficulties. We set up our new home and started planning our future. I continued to write and do photography, and Sarah opened her own little coffee shop. Our life became calm and happy. We enjoyed every day, spending time together and doing what we love. Our past was behind us and we were ready for new adventures. One day I received a letter from one of the former detectives who had worked on our case. He said that they discovered new evidence that could help solve even more crimes related to Richard. It reminded me of all the scary things we've been through, but this time I felt no fear. I knew that we had overcome the worst and could now help others. I agreed to help the detective and provide all the necessary information. It was my way of contributing to the cause of justice and helping other people. Detectives found new clues that indicated that Richard had even more accomplices than we previously thought. They continued the investigation and found new evidence. It was an important matter for all of us. We wanted all those responsible to be punished, and that no one else would have to suffer the kind of suffering we had. The police were able to arrest several more of Richard's accomplices. It was a great achievement both for us and for the law enforcement officers. We felt that justice had finally prevailed. Our life is back to normal. We continued to enjoy each day and plan for our future. Sarah and I were happy together and knew that we could overcome any difficulties. One day, we decided to open a charity fund to support victims of persecution. It was our way of helping others and making the world a better place. Our fund has become successful. We received support from many people and organizations. It made us feel like we were doing something important. We held meetings with victims, helped them find support and rebuild their lives. It was difficult, but very important for us. Our life became an example for others. We showed that it is possible to overcome any difficulties and find a new meaning in life. We were grateful for every day spent together. One day I received an invitation to speak at a security conference. It was an opportunity to share my story and help others understand the importance of protecting their rights. My performance was successful. I received a lot of positive feedback and invitations to other events. It made me feel that my story could help a lot of people. Sarah and I continued to work on our foundation and help others. We dreamed about the future and planned new projects. We decided to create a training program for survivors of persecution. It was an important part of our work and helped many people find a new path in life. Our program has become popular. We received many inquiries and proposals for cooperation. It was a great achievement for us and for everyone involved in our cause. One day we received a letter from one of the victims who went through our program. She thanked us for our help and talked about her new life. It was the best reward for us. We continued to work on new projects and help others. Our life was filled with meaning and happiness. We knew we were doing an important thing. One evening, as we sat at home discussing our plans, I felt that I had finally found my place in the world. We went through many difficulties, but we came out of them stronger. Our life became an example for others. We showed that it is possible to overcome any difficulties and find a new meaning in life. We were grateful for every day spent together. We continued to dream and plan our future. Our fund grew and we saw how many people received help and support. One day we decided to expand our activities and open new support centers in other cities. It was a big step, but we knew it would help a lot of people. Our new centers have become successful. We have received a lot of positive feedback and have seen our efforts pay off. It made us feel like we were doing the right thing. We continued to work and help others. Our life was filled with meaning and happiness. We knew we were doing an important thing. One evening, as we sat at home discussing our plans, I felt that I had finally found my place in the world. We went through many difficulties, but we came out of them stronger. Our life became an example for others. We showed that it is possible to overcome any difficulties and find a new meaning in life. We were grateful for every day spent together. Our fund continued to grow, and we knew that there were many more important things and new adventures ahead of us. Our foundation was expanding, and we decided to create a special program for young people who have survived persecution or other traumatic events. We wanted to support them and help them find a new path in life. We have started working with local schools and universities to educate young people about the importance of safety and protecting their rights. Our lectures and seminars were very popular. One day, a young guy named Alex approached us. He experienced persecution and sought support. We offered him participation in our program and helped him find a new place of study. Alex quickly adapted to new conditions. He found new friends and began to believe in himself again. It was a great achievement for us and for him. We continued to work with young people and saw how our efforts were paying off. Many young people who have passed through our programs have found new opportunities and changed their lives for the better. Our support centers became a place where people could find help, support, and a sense of safety. We were grateful for every opportunity to help others. Sarah and I decided to take a short vacation and go on a trip to rest and recharge. We went to a small island where we enjoyed the silence and beauty of nature. This trip helped us regain strength and find new inspiration for our work. We returned home with new ideas and plans. One of our new ideas was to create an online platform to support victims of harassment. We wanted to give them the opportunity to get help regardless of where they live. We started work on this platform and involved the best specialists in the project. It was a big step forward for our organization. The platform has become successful. We received a lot of positive feedback and saw how our work helps people in different parts of the country. Our foundation continued to grow and develop. We attracted new partners and sponsors, which helped us implement new projects and programs. Sarah and I were happy together. We supported each other in all endeavors and overcame all difficulties together. Our life was filled with meaning and happiness. One day we decided to organize a big charity event to raise funds to support victims of persecution. It was an important event for our organization. The action was successful. We raised a lot of money and drew attention to our cause. This was a great achievement for us and for everyone who supported our foundation. Our foundation has become well known and respected in society. We received many invitations to various events and conferences where we could share our history and experience. We continued to work and help others. Our life was filled with meaning and happiness. We knew we were doing an important thing. One evening, as we sat at home discussing our plans, I felt that I had finally found my place in the world. We went through many difficulties, but we came out of them stronger. Our life became an example for others. We showed that it is possible to overcome any difficulties and find a new meaning in life. We were grateful for every day spent together. We continued to dream and plan our future. Our fund grew, and we saw how many people received help and support. We knew that there were many more important things and new adventures ahead of us. Our foundation, which Sarah and I founded, was called Light of Hope. It was created to support victims of persecution and give them the help they need to rebuild their lives and feel safe again. We worked with professionals in the field of psychology, law, and social support to provide a comprehensive approach to solving the problems of our wards. One of the Foundation's first initiatives was the creation of crisis centers where victims of persecution could receive immediate help. Psychologists, lawyers, and social workers worked in these centers and were ready to provide support at any time of the day. We have also organized support groups where people who have experienced similar situations can communicate, share their experiences, and receive moral support from each other. These groups became an important element of our work because many people felt alone in their problems. Another important direction of the Foundation's work was the holding of educational events and trainings. We have partnered with local schools, universities, and community organizations to raise awareness about harassment and educate people on how to protect themselves and their rights. We also launched a hotline where everyone could get free advice and help. Our operators were specially trained to work with victims of stalking and could provide the necessary support in a crisis situation. One of the greatest achievements of our foundation was the opening of several regional offices. This allowed us to provide assistance to people in different parts of the country and make our support more accessible. We also created a special fund to support victims of harassment who needed financial assistance. These funds were used to pay for medical services, legal support, and other necessary expenses. Our foundation has also actively worked with the media to raise awareness of the issue of harassment. We participated in television programs, published articles in newspapers and magazines, and appeared on the radio in order to convey our mission to as many people as possible. We have developed and launched several programs for the rehabilitation of victims of persecution. These programs included psychological support, group therapy, art therapy classes, and other methods that helped people regain their mental health and experience the joy of life again. Our foundation has also worked with employers to secure employment for victims of harassment. We helped them find work that matched their skills and interests and provided support during the adjustment period. We have also organized a series of seminars and trainings for law enforcement agencies to raise their awareness of the problem of harassment and teach them how to act in such situations. This helped to improve interaction between victims and the police and to provide better protection for victims. Our foundation has developed special programs to support children who have become victims of persecution or whose parents have experienced such an experience. We provided psychological support, helped with education, and provided a safe environment for their development. We have also created programs to support women who are victims of harassment. These programs included legal assistance, psychological support, self-defense classes, and other resources that helped women feel strong and independent. We have actively worked with local communities to raise their awareness of the problem of harassment and to teach them how to properly respond to such situations. This helped create a safer and more supportive environment for everyone. Our foundation has also collaborated with international organizations to share experiences and develop new approaches to solving the problem of persecution. This allowed us to borrow best practices and provide a high level of support for our wards. We started a mentoring program where people who had gone through our programs and rebuilt their lives could become mentors for new victims of stalking. This created a sense of community and helped new wards to feel supported and inspired. We have also worked to create special programs for men who have become victims of harassment. These programs included psychological support, group therapy, and other resources to help the men cope with their experiences and find a new path in life. Our foundation was actively engaged in research in the field of persecution and its consequences. We have collaborated with academic institutions and universities to develop new approaches to solving this problem and provide effective assistance to victims. We have created a special program to educate young people about internet safety. This program included lectures and training sessions to help young people protect themselves from online harassment and abuse. Our foundation has also developed a program to support older people who have become victims of harassment. We provided them with psychological and legal assistance, as well as support in everyday life. We have organized a series of events to raise awareness of the problem of stalking among the public. This included charity concerts, marathons, exhibitions, and other events that drew attention to our cause and attracted new supporters. Our foundation has also worked with government organizations to develop national programs to support victims of persecution. We participated in working groups and committees to make suggestions and ensure a better understanding of the problem at the state level. We also engaged in advocacy at the international level. Our representatives participated in international conferences and forums where they shared their experience and developed new approaches to solving the problem of persecution. We continued to expand the foundation's activities, but my anxiety persisted. Something inside me constantly felt that the threat had not yet passed. Sarah assured me it was just residual fear from past experiences, but one day something happened that made us all wary. One evening, when we were closing the office, a stranger came to us. He introduced himself as a journalist and said he wanted to write an article about our foundation. I agreed to give an interview, although his eyes seemed strange to me, cold and piercing. We talked for about an hour. He asked many questions about our programs, our history, and our lives, but some of his questions were too personal. For example, he asked about my daily routes and habits. This made me suspicious, but I tried not to show my concern. After this interview, I began to notice strange things. I have received several anonymous threatening emails similar to the ones I received before. My sense of danger heightened again. One day I saw the same car that had chased me earlier parked outside our office. I immediately called the police, but when they arrived, the car was gone. My anxieties only grew. We have decided to increase security measures. Our office and homes were equipped with additional surveillance cameras and alarms, but it did not give me peace. I felt that someone was watching us. One evening, when I was coming home, I noticed that the door of our house was open. My heart pounded in my chest and I quietly went inside. Sarah did not respond to my cries. I found her in the living room, tied up and crying. The same man who called himself a journalist stood over her with a knife. He was smiling, his eyes burning with mad fire. "You thought it was over?" he whispered, "but I'll always be there." I lunged at him, trying to take the knife away, but he was stronger than he looked. We fought and he wounded me in the arm. Sarah mustered all her strength to push him away, and together we were able to run out of the house. We called the police and they arrived quickly. The man disappeared, leaving behind only a trail of blood and many questions. The police started an investigation, but again they could not find him. We were forced to leave our city and move to another place where no one knew about our history. We started a new life, but fear always stayed with us. I realized that danger can lurk at any time and in any place. Our lives were forever changed, but we weren't going to give up. We knew we had to continue our fight for security and justice. Every day we lived with the hope that this horrible man would never return, but deep down we knew he could be around. This was our new reality, and we had to learn to live with it. We continued to work in the foundation, help people, and build our new life. But fear remained with us like a shadow, reminding us that danger could return at any moment. and we had to be ready for anything.